Was Prophet Muhammad truthful? The first and strongest evidence for his prophethood. If we wanted to examine anyone who claims to be a messenger from God, what should be the very first question we ask? Not, did he perform miracles? Did his religion spread? Was he a great speaker? The first and most fundamental question is, was he truthful to begin with? If it is proven that he was a liar, then the discussion ends there. But if it is established that he was among the most truthful people, then we can move on to examining the rest of the evidence. This is precisely the approach taken by the Qur'an. Allah says, I lived among you for a lifetime before this. Will you not then reason? Qur'an 10:16. In other words, I lived among you for 40 years before claiming prophethood. Did you ever know me to lie? This is not an emotional appeal. It is a historical argument. Evidence 1. 40 years of honesty before prophethood. Prophet Muhammad lived in Mecca for 40 years before receiving revelation. During those years, people dealt with him in business, trade, travel, arbitration, social affairs, safekeeping of valuables. Yet, throughout all authentic historical sources, there is not a single verified incident in which he was caught lying to anyone. This is extraordinary. Example. Imagine someone running for the presidency today. Journalists would investigate every detail of that person's past. If they found even one deliberate lie from decades ago, it would become headline news. Muhammad, however, lived among his future opponents for 40 years, before his followers even existed, and they were unable to produce a single proven lie against him. Evidence 2. His title before Islam, the truthful and the trustworthy. Long before he declared prophethood, the people of Mecca called him Sadiq, the truthful, and Amin, the trustworthy. These titles were not given by believers after accepting Islam. They were given by his own people before revelation. They entrusted him with their wealth, valuables, and personal possessions. Had he been known as a liar, they would never have trusted him with their property. Evidence 3. The testimony of his greatest enemy. One of the strongest forms of historical evidence is when your own enemy testifies in your favor. Before embracing Islam, Abu Sufyan, the leader of the Quraysh and one of Muhammad's fiercest opponents, was questioned by the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius. Heraclius asked him, did you ever accuse him of lying before he claimed prophethood? Abu Sufyan replied, no. Heraclius then concluded, if he never lied to people, he would not leave lying about people only to begin lying about God. Source: Sahih al-Bukhari, the Hadith of Heraclius. Why is this testimony important? Because Abu Sufyan was still an enemy of Islam. He had every motivation to discredit Muhammad, yet he admitted the truth. He later confessed, had I not been ashamed that my companions would call me a liar, I would have lied about him. This is one of the strongest testimonies in early Islamic history. Evidence 4. Why didn't they simply call him a liar? The Quraysh accused Muhammad of many things. They called him a poet, a magician, a madman, but they never successfully argued he has always been a liar. Why? Because reality would not allow such an accusation. If they had possessed even a single convincing example of him lying before prophethood, they would have used it immediately. That alone could have destroyed his credibility before the public. Evidence 5. His trustworthiness continued even after declaring prophethood. Someone may argue, perhaps he was truthful before prophethood but lied afterward. History tells a different story. Even after announcing his message, many of the Quraysh continued leaving their valuables in his care. When he migrated from Mecca to Medina, he did not take those belongings with him. Instead, he instructed Ali ibn Abi Talib to remain behind and return every trust to its rightful owner. If they truly believed he was dishonest or untrustworthy, why were their possessions still in his care? Evidence 6. Did he personally benefit from his claim? Most people who knowingly lie do so for one or more of the following reasons: wealth, political power, social status, personal comfort. But what happened after Muhammad declared prophethood? He was boycotted, persecuted, insulted, physically attacked, threatened with death, forced to leave his homeland. He often lived in severe poverty. There were days when no fire was lit in his home because there was no food to cook. If he fabricated his claim, where was the personal benefit? Furthermore, the leaders of Quraysh offered him wealth, kingship, and influence if he would abandon his message. He refused every offer. Evidence 7. A fabricator avoids material that weakens his image. Someone inventing a religion would normally protect his reputation. Yet the Qur'an contains verses that openly correct and admonish the prophet. Among them are the opening verses of Surah Abasa, the verses concerning the prisoners after the Battle of Badr, the verses regarding permission granted to those who stayed behind from battle. If Muhammad had authored the Qur'an himself, why would he preserve passages that appear to criticize his own decisions? A deceiver usually removes anything that could diminish his image. He does not preserve it forever in the very book he asked humanity to believe is divine revelation. Conclusion. After examining the historical evidence, we find that Muhammad lived 40 years without a single proven lie, was widely known as the truthful and the trustworthy, was acknowledged as truthful even by his enemies, was never proven dishonest in his personal dealings, continued to be trusted with people's valuables after declaring prophethood, endured persecution instead of gaining worldly benefits, preserved revelations that openly corrected him, instead of protecting his personal image. These facts alone do not prove prophethood in its entirety. However, they effectively eliminate the first and most common alternative explanation, that Muhammad knowingly fabricated his claim to prophethood.